With Prince Bell, we rocking with keeping it real sports, and we gonna be on this. We gonna be on a lot of times. I love the platform. Check in. It's the new wave. Like, follow, subscribe, and do all that good stuff.
Come on. Told you I got you. Wanna talk about the game, he can talk about it. Tennis, match, golf, he can talk about it. Don't matter what it is, he can talk about it. Any sport dude, he know about it. Safe boy bum, don't doubt it. If he tell you that it is what it is. The real sports guy in the Sandman. Talk show game in the bag, man. Rep, gon' have to throw the flag, man. Steve Taylor, Andy Sands. It's over, OVA. Game over, they don't play. From the fourth quarter to the ninth inning. NASCAR wheels keep spinning. To the 18th hole, he's still in control. Eye on the goal. Coach never missing the play, cause he know the deal. This keeping it real. Sports. Come on. Keeping it real. Yeah. Let's go.
Let's go indeed. Another edition of Keeping It Real Sports. I am your boy, the real sports guy, Steve Taylor. He is the Sandman, Andy Sanzada. And how you doing, my brother, man?
I'm doing great, Steve. I'm ready for a great show. It's going to be NFL themed today. We're going to take a look at the AFC all around as a whole. We're going to take a look at some teams that we think are going to miss the playoffs, that made the playoffs last year. And, we got some other stuff planned as well. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And for our people just joining us and our ESPN listeners, thanks for joining us back in the studios, pushing all the studios. All of the buttons making us sound good. It's Josh Burnham. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Steve. We got a good day of football. Even after the Power Hour concludes at 11, we got Cleveland Browns coverage. The final preseason game of the year starts at 11 on the ticket, and 945 XKR as they take on Patrick Mahomes and the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. Stick around for that.
There you go. We are the Cleveland Brown affiliate right here. See, it ain't just you, Andy. It's not just you. Oh, man. Hey, well, man, guys, we got to get to work, man. And when we get to work, man, we do this thing we call hot off the press. Let's do it.
All right, Steve. Well, a big trade happened last night, and a surprising move, I think, for a lot of people. But I don't think it was surprising to you and me, because this is put up or shut up time for Dak Prescott. And Dallas had to come up with plan B if indeed he continues to play the way he has over the last two seasons. So they said, hey, San Francisco, you've got an extra quarterback. Why don't you send him over here? It didn't work out for you in the draft. And so Dallas trades for Trey Lance, and the 49ers get a fourth-round pick. I think that's a pretty good swing for San Francisco.
Well, what do you think? They got him for a slice of pizza. See, the problem that I have is nobody's talking about San Francisco trading all those draft capitals to get this kid, and they traded him for a slice of pizza. Problem. See, I'm not going to let you get away with the Brock Purdy deal. So what? You got Brock Purdy. We don't really know if Brock Purdy is that good. We don't know yet. We think we know, but we don't know. Man, we know that Trey Lance really can't play. That's what I know. I know he's 50-50. Sometimes the passes look good. Sometimes they don't. I don't think it's a big deal for Dallas at all. Dak ain't got nothing to worry about. So there you go. Let's do quick hitters. Quick hitters.
All right, Steve. Austin Matthews signs a 4-year extension in Toronto. There was a lot of speculation that he may want out of Toronto because of the lack of success they've had in the playoffs. That's not the case at all. He now is the largest paid player in the NHL in terms of average per year, $13.25 million a year. I think I'd be staying in Toronto for that kind of money as well.
we kind of touched on this earlier in the week, man. Hall of Fame wrestler Terry Funk, man, passes away, man. You know, the WWE, WWF, NWA, whatever you want to call it, AWA, I believe he was affiliated in all of those. Man, they lost a great one.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Steve, they didn't lose just one. They lost two, and this one was a real big surprise. Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, passes away at the age of 36.
Wow.
Too young, just too young. I watched SmackDown last night, as you know, every week, and they did a tremendous job with the tribute to both Bray and Terry Funk. So hats off to the WWE for how they handled that.
Okay, man, on a lighter note, as we get to golf, hey, man, my guy, Victor Hovland, is tearing up the golf scene right now. Dude shot a 28 on the back nine Sunday to run away with the tournament. Dude shot 8 threes and a 4 on the back nine. Ridiculous, man. I mean, ridiculous on the back nine. 61 overall. Dude is in another zone right now. Man, that's probably going to continue on as he goes for his quest for the FedEx Cup.
Yeah, and he shot a 30 on the back nine yesterday, so he's still feeling it quite well based on how he played last week. And Steve, I watched him play yesterday. He's just so comfortable off the tee box right now. And on this course, specifically at East Lake in Atlanta, you have to be in the fairway. And that's been the key to his success. And if he continues that, nobody's going to catch him, even though he only has a 2-stroke lead right now.
Definitely. Well, Andy, let's get to the NFL portion, man. This is an NFL week. We're going to kick it off with coaches on the hot seat. We call this Storylines.
We talked about it before, so we're going to take a look at the coaches on the hot seat. And Steve,
Okay.
I don't think anybody's seat has to be hotter right now than Robert Saleh of the New York Jets.
You ain't lying there, buddy. I tell you what, man, there's a lot going on. See, I think it's a major problem. The fact that he wants to start Aaron Rodgers in this preseason finale. Man, why do I have such a problem with that? Because if you wanted to see what it really looked like, this is the 4th preseason game that you played. I would have thought you would have done that in the last game, but you don't. I've been watching Hard Knocks. I saw you blow up on the front line, the offensive line, when they couldn't block the Carolina Panthers in joint practices. I heard the comments from Randall Cobb that he made to the wide receiver group concerning the mistakes that are being made on the wide receiver room. There are problems. And when I highlighted the top 6 games of the season, I smell 1 and 5 start. Yeah, you right. Hot seat.
Yeah, well, here's another guy that has to be on the hot seat because he choked in the playoffs last year, Brandon Staley. I mean, Steve, they were calling for his job before he made the playoffs.
Right.
I don't know how he lasts another year unless he takes them to the AFC Championship.
Problem with him is, look, when they hire a coach, they hire you on what you specialize in. Well, he specializes in defense. Andy, the defense has been atrocious. They surrendered a 27-point lead last year that the Jacksonville Jaguars spotted them. So what do I mean by that? Every team, Sean McVay came in with the Rams. The Rams had an anemic offense. Bam, right away, he fixed the offense. You can say what you want to say about Zach Taylor, but once he showed up on the scene, bam, offense fixed. Okay? What I'm saying, defense atrocious. Dude on the hot seat.
All right, I got this next one, okay? Because it's a little too close to home, but he's got to be on the list. And it's Kevin Stefanski. Steve, it's put up or shut up time for Kevin Stefanski. He made the playoffs. He won Coach of the Year in his rookie year. He hasn't done anything since. And he went out and said, get me a quarterback, okay? They went out and they got Deshaun Watson. They paid him $230 million guaranteed. Now, supposedly, the word is around here that the offense is going to run the way Deshaun wants it, not the way Stefanski wants it, okay? So that means they're going to throw the ball more. They're not going to run the ball as much. I don't know. Stefanski continues to call the plays, even though he's got offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt. They've got to make the playoffs, Steve, or he doesn't have a job. And the other reason he's hot is there's another guy with head coaching experience now on the sidelines in Jim Schwartz. And I promise you, if they start 1-5, that Jim Schwartz becomes the head coach before the end of this season. So his seat's really hot right now.
Bro, I know you in Cleveland, but I had a chance to spend some time with these fellas, man.
I know you did.
I don't get the sense of urgency that you're putting out, man, for Kevin Stefanski. I'm just telling you, I don't get that sense. Man, I think it's a big boy in the room. And when I had a chance to talk to him, because I spoke with him, and I asked him specifically about identity of the Cleveland Browns, and he is very happy with where they are identity-wise, man. I like the Cleveland Browns, man. I don't think he's in such a bad situation, man. I really don't.
All right. Well, it's year number 3, and you know how impatient Jimmy Haslam is. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Oh, may I chime in?
Sure, absolutely.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, looking at those 3 coaching situations, the guys in the hot seat, if one of those jobs becomes open, I think that one Jim Harbaugh will take one of those jobs. I'm betting on the Jets in 2024.
Good point. Good point, Ken.
All right. There's 2 other coaches we've got on this list. We got to get.
What you got?
How about Ron Rivera and the Commanders? Now, Steve, I watched the game the other night against Baltimore. I know it was preseason, but remember, Eric Bieniemy went to Washington. Okay, and a lot of people think Eric Bieniemy has cut the cloth to become a head coach. And I think for that reason alone, Ron Rivera is on this list.
Let me tell you, preseason games don't count, Andy. But
I know
they matter.
that.
But they matter.
Yes.
Okay. And what I'm saying is, offensively, the energy that Eric Bieniemy is bringing to that unit, this thing Ron Rivera might well be the first coach, man, out like a scout on a new route this year, because Eric Bieniemy is getting things done, especially offensively, man. You have to admit, if you watch that game, they look different. It's a different look. It's a sense of urgency.
And not only did they look different, but we're seeing a lot of similarities in Kansas City. And Sam Howell is not Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Sam Howell has the skill set to run the offense the way that Mahomes did, and I think that's why Bieniemy named him the starting quarterback over.
Man, I ain't gonna let you get away with that, man. I mean, he's all right, but man, he ain't gonna. We ain't gonna put him in the same breath with Mahomes.
I said he's not in the same bracket. I said he's capable of running the same offense.
All right. Well, it's been a while since, man, I've jostled you. You got to get it, buddy. You got.
I'm gonna give it back. You know that too.
Right. What else you got, brother?
One more. It's got to be McCarthy, right? I mean, come on. Enough is enough in Dallas. Everybody's got them going to the Super Bowl, Steve. Well, maybe not you and me, but a lot of people have Dallas in the Super Bowl because they really believe that with what they did in the draft and what they've done in free agency, now they've got what was missing to go all the way. And Jerry Jones continues to back Mike McCarthy. But, Steve, if he doesn't deliver, I just don't see it. I don't see him staying there.
That's fair. Dude asked for this seat because, the offense was doing just fine. Let it stutter. And the thing that concerns the hell out of me, if I was a Cowboy fan, is the fact that he said, I want to dummy things down for Dak. I don't want Dak to be thinking. I want to take away a lot of Dak's looks. Now, well, damn it, if you pay him that much money, man, you need to be putting more on his plate.
We're going to have to. Remember, they don't have Zeke now. It's Tony Pollard or bust. And
it was Tony Pollard last year.
But he's injury prone, so you don't have a backup option. So you gotta deliver if you're Mike McCarthy. No question about it. All right, so that's going to do it for storylines. But, Steve, we've got some previews to take a look at now in terms of breaking down the divisions and how we see things are going to play out in the AFC. Are you ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with the most talked about division in the preseason, maybe ever, right? Because of one move. Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets. Now everybody wants to talk about the AFC East. Right. But you and I aren't going to fall for the falsehoods, right?
Right.
Okay, so this is how we see the AFC East. And for those of you on the radio that can't see the graphic right now, we've got the Buffalo Bills 1, the Miami Dolphins 2, the New York Jets 3, and New England 4. Yeah, New England signed Ezekiel Elliott. That's not going to be enough to get them into the playoffs. I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah.
But we see Miami as the better team over the Jets, Steve, and with good cause. They had one of the best defenses, just like the Jets, but they have a better offense than the Jets. Just adding Aaron Rodgers was not enough, and Dalvin Cook as well, to me, was not enough. Miami's got the better offense. That's why we've got them at 2 in the division.
Well, my reasoning for having them number 2 is a little bit different than yours. Miami, the biggest signing in the offseason to me was Vic Fangio going to the Miami Dolphins. That's a big deal because he fixes that defense immediately. Anybody that knows anything about football in the NFL understands the hardest defense to try to matriculate the ball up the field on is a Vic Fangio defense. Miami has him now. Problem. The New York Jets, we illustrated this earlier. They open up the season at Buffalo. They follow up with the game at Dallas. They play Buffalo first. Excuse me. The game at Buffalo is on Monday night. It's at home. Then they travel to Dallas. Oh, by the way, those two teams get after the quarterback pretty good. So if you got offensive line problems, we're going to find out early on. Okay? Master in that is trips to Kansas City and a trip to play the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, I'm telling you that has 1-5 written all over it. You're not going to make the playoffs at 1-5. We have them number 3 in the division.
And New England just doesn't have enough, right, Steve? I mean,
No,
that's why we've
not
got them in 4th. So, all right, so that's the AFC East. Where are we going next? Should we
North.
go to the North? All right,
North.
let's go to the North. Now, this was the of all the divisions in the AFC, Steve, this was the one that we just kept going back and forth and back and forth. And we were switching these teams in and out, right? I mean, because to me, it's going to be the most competitive division in football this year. And I think it's the deepest division of football as well. And you could realistically, if we see Deshaun Watson of Houston, you can realistically shift all these teams in different orders.
Okay.
Now, I personally think that Cleveland's going to finish ahead of Pittsburgh because we will see that somewhat of that version of Deshaun. I don't think all the way back because he's been out of football for 2 years essentially, even though he played 6 games last year. It's not enough. But I just don't think Pittsburgh has enough weapons to help Kenny Pickett. So that's why I've got Cleveland finishing ahead of Pittsburgh.
Okay. Look, I'm going to tell you, I kind of, because we did this graphic earlier.
Yep.
So if I could flip things, I tend to want to agree with one of my cohorts on black and white. I like Baltimore to win the division, Pittsburgh to finish 2nd, and Cincinnati to drop. Because, see, guys, Joe Burrow starting out with that injured quad is not good news. And if it lingers throughout the season, it's going to be a problem. But I like Baltimore to win that division hands down. Let's go to the South.
We definitely agree on that for sure. All right, in the South. To me, Steve, this was the easiest division to pick and the easiest one to put in order as well. You've got the defending champions in the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're loaded up with a lot of returning weapons, but now they add Calvin Ridley, which is another weapon for Sunshine. Yeah. That's a major deal. But Tennessee is a team that I think a lot of people are discrediting. Steve, to me, this is a team you better keep your eye on, and they could sneak in as a wild card. We've got them 2nd in the division. Houston, not quite ready yet with the new quarterback in C.J. Stroud. Same thing with Indianapolis going to Anthony Richardson, the rookie. To me, this was a no-brainer in terms of placing these teams in this order.
Pretty much, man. Let's get to the West.
All right, now this is where things get a little bit interesting. Obviously, you've got to put Kansas City at the top. Although I think Eric Bieniemy not being there makes things a little bit more interesting than people think, Steve. But then we've got Denver finishing 2nd. We've got Sean Payton going there and turning things around. We just don't see it with the Chargers. I know they made the playoffs last year, but that game, I'm telling you, the fact that they blew that 27-point lead, they're not going to forget that. I think it's going to haunt them all season long. And then Vegas Garoppolo's not the answer in Vegas. So there you go.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, man. I like Kansas City, man. Nobody's talking about the fact that Chris Jones is not there. He's said he'd sit out the first 8 games of the season. Charles Omenihu's going to miss the first 6 games because of substance abuse. And then, man, Denver is going to be better than what you think they are, man. I mean, look, I believe in Sean Payton. So, yeah, I'm down with you on that. I love the Chargers to miss the playoffs. I don't think that they're I don't see it. I don't see it. And Vegas, I mean, they're really close to being a grease fire. You know what I'm saying? They're real close to being a grease fire. So,
so there you have it. AFC preview.
Go.
Next week, we're going to do the NFC. So we're going to take a look at the NFC next week.
So
but now let's take a look at 6 teams that missed the playoffs that made the playoffs last year. Now we're combining the AFC and the NFC to create this list. Okay?
Well, you have to, because every year, Andy, there are usually 6 to 7 different teams that make the playoffs by year. So teams that made the playoffs last year, you're going to have 6 new teams that's going to make it this year. So if you have 6 that's going to make it, you got to have 6 that's not going to make it. So we're looking at 6 teams we project to miss the playoffs this year.
All right, let's start with the first team. To me, this was the easiest pick. Tampa Bay, no more Tom Brady. Baker Mayfield comes in as the quarterback. I still think that there's some questions about their head coach as well, and they're going to miss the playoffs. I think they're going to look at a 5 or 6 win season.
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky saying 5 or 6 games. You're being awful generous there, man. You know, yeah, I tend to agree with you there, man. The second team that I think, man, that's really going to struggle, man, trying to get in, man, it's going to be an uphill battle for New England. You know, they made the playoffs last year. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year. Man, it's just an uphill battle. Mac Jones, man, talking about he wants to get back to Alabama Mac. What the hell is Alabama Mac? I'm just asking.
Yeah, exactly. All right, in the NFC, you know, Dalvin Cook leaving, Steve, is a big void for them, and I don't know if they're going to be able to make it up. But, you know, this is also a contract year for Kirk Cousins. I think that's too much of a distraction. Minnesota misses the playoffs.
Oh, okay. Well, another team, man, a lot of guys are high on, Andy. I'm not. Is the Seattle Seahawks, man. I just can't. Geno's got to show it to me again. You know, I spent time in Missouri, so yeah, I'm from Missouri, so you have to show me. I have to see it. I just think that everything kind of went well for Seattle last year. I don't know how well that'll go this year.
The Giants, I think they snuck up on a lot of people last year, Steve, but I don't see that happening this year. Now, they did just go get Isaiah Simmons, which will shore up that linebacking core on their defense. But, you know, it's too big, too competitive of a division. The NFC is deep as a whole. I just don't see it. I don't think the Giants get in this year.
And the team that, man, we both have not been bullish on are the LA Chargers, man. It's just a lot for me to not believe in, man. I'm not a believer at all, man, in Sunshine or Justin Herbert or none of them guys, man. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. So there you go, man. The 6 teams that we think will miss the playoffs this year.
Next week, we're going to look at 6 teams that we think will replace.
Will make it. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, man, before we get out of here, man, what I wanted to do, man, Josh and I had fun with this week, man, projecting rookie seasons, So, Andy, let's get into projecting some of the rookies that coming into this year and how they'll fare this year, whether it'll be a boom or a bust season for them. Man, let's start out with our guy, the number 1 pick in the draft, Bryce Young from Carolina. Andy, what do you think, man? You think it's going to be a boom season, or you think it's going to be, somewhat of a slow season for him?
I think Carolina is a team that a lot of people are talking about because of Bryce Young as a sleeper in the NFC South. I think it's going to be a boom in terms of he'll keep them competitive. I don't think he'll put up the huge numbers. I think he'll throw a lot of interceptions just because that's what rookie quarterbacks do. But overall, Steve, I think it's a boom for Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers.
Well, for me, Andy, I'm not saying that Bryce Young is a bust. I just think the season will be because they can't block him up front. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to be a problem consequently. So, that's just my thoughts on that one. The young quarterback from Indianapolis, Anthony Richardson. Andy, you seem to have reservations on this. Give me your thoughts, boom or bust season.
Yeah, I think it's a bust, Steve. I think they took him too high, first of all, in the draft. I know there was a lot of hype around him because of the type of camp that he had and everything, but I don't see it. They don't have anything for him in Indianapolis, and I think he's going to struggle with that. So it's a bust for me.
Okay. C.J. Stroud, the rookie quarterback from Houston. What do you think?
This one was a tough one because they don't have an offensive line, and that's going to give him problems. So I think initially I said boom because of the talent, but I think because of that struggles on the offensive line, it's going to be a rough season for CJ in the NFL. So it's a bust.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that, man. I think it's just, I don't think CJ the quarterback is a bust.
Exactly.
But I just think the situation that he's in right now, man, I tend to agree with you, man. Here's a guy, man, that we both are real high on, Bijan Robinson, the rookie from Texas. Your thoughts on him, boom or bust?
Oh, big boom. Boom, boom, boom. I would say. I think this kid's going to win Rookie of the Year, Steve, and I think Atlanta could sneak up on some people in the South. We've got the Saints winning the division. We'll get into that next week. But Atlanta's a team you got to watch out for, especially if they get the quarterback play from Desmond Ridder.
Yeah. And Will Anderson, the linebacker from Houston, man. Houston doubles down, go 2 and 3 in the draft this year, man. Somewhat unheard of. But your thoughts on Will? Is this a boom or bust for him?
I think it's a boom because of his head coach. D'Amico Ryans is a former linebacker and a good one at that, and I think he's going to be able to coach him up exceptionally well. I think Anderson's going to be in the mix for Defensive Rookie of the Year, so I've got a boom on him.
Yeah, I kind of like that too, man. That sounds about right. And our last one is Jackson Smith and Jigba, the rookie wide receiver for the Seahawks. Boom or bust?
It's a boom. He's a Buckeye. I'm not going to bust a Buckeye. Plus, Steve, stepping onto the field, he's already one of the best route runners in the NFL because he was coached by Brian Hartline. So everybody was talking the other night about Terry McLaurin in that preseason game, remember? Yeah. Well, he's another product of Brian Hartline, so it's a big boom for me.
Well, again, the reason I want you to listen to what I'm going to say. To me, it's bust, and I don't think it's him, okay? I just don't like the fact that he's always hurt. How many games did he play last year at Ohio State?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Well, he's broken his wrist again in a similar type injury, man. So he's already had wrist surgery. So we're off and running with this kid already, man. I'm not saying that he's a bust, but I just think it's going to kind of be like that this year, man.
Yeah. I know this is an NFL show, Steve, but we've got 2 college football games today. Don't forget, we've got Notre Dame and Navy at 2:30, and then tonight you've got USC and San Jose State. So real quick, before we get to one last thing, let's look at our top 10 going into the season.
Well, no changes for us right now, man. But what we're going to look at is the intriguing matchup between number 6 LSU and number 8 Florida State. We'll get into that more next week. But man, I think, man, I like it.
All right, and one last thing. We've got the Little League World Series this weekend. Today's the final between the United States. It's California and Texas, and the international final is Curacao against Chinese Taipei. And then tomorrow will be the championship for the Little League World Series, where the winners of those games will play each other. Steve, I'm going to be tuning in, man. This has been some great baseball. It's been really entertaining to watch these kids go at it, and they're having a lot of fun out there and some really competitive games as well. So I'm definitely going to be watching the final as well as the final round of the Tour Championship.
All right, man. It's been fun, but we got to run, man. Another one in, 91 in the books, man. Thank you, our new listening audience on ESPN Radio, for joining us, and for all our listeners. And until next week, we wish you
love
and peace. Chuck them deuces. We'll see you next week.